In the quiet shadow of the 9th century, when Europe lay fractured and war-torn, the city of Rome stood not as the noble center of the ancient empire it once commanded, but as a haunted ruin, smothered in ivy and intrigue. Within its decaying marble halls and candlelit chapels, a storm of corruption stirred, not from invading armies, but from within the heart of Christendom itself. This was the beginning of what historians later called the Saeculum Obscurum, the dark age of the papacy, a time when popes were not saints but pawns, or worse, predators. Let us begin not with a living pope, but with a dead one. It was the winter of 897 AD. A bitter wind howled through the crooked alleys of Rome, rattling wooden shutters and echoing off the broken columns of forgotten temples. Inside the Basilica of St. John Lateran, the grandest church of the time, a strange and dreadful trial was about to unfold. A corpse had been exhumed from its grave. The body was once Pope Formosus. He had died months earlier, quietly, with scandal behind him and judgment left to God. But the new Pope, Stephen VI, was not content with divine justice. He wanted spectacle. He wanted revenge. Formosus's decomposing remains were dressed in papal vestments and propped upright on a throne, his skull grinning silently beneath a crown of rot. Before him stood a council of cardinals, bishops, and nobles. This was no vision. This was real. A cadaver signed, a trial of a corpse. With a trembling voice that echoed in the vaulted church, Pope Stephen pointed his finger and accused the dead pope of perjury, of ambition, of unholy lust for power. A deacon stood beside the body and answered the questions on behalf of the corpse, mumbling replies to satisfy the absurd ritual. Witnesses gasped, some wept, others laughed nervously. And when it was done, when the sentence was pronounced, Formosus was stripped of his papal robes, 3 fingers of blessing were cut from his withered hand, and his body was thrown into the river Tiber. For weeks, the people of Rome whispered of curses and ghosts. A flood soon followed, and when Formosus's body washed up on the riverbank, believers claimed miracles were seen in its presence. The people turned against Pope Stephen. He would not last the year. He was arrested, imprisoned, and strangled in the very cell that had once held those he condemned. But the madness did not end there. In the decades that followed, the papacy became a chessboard for Rome's noble families. Popes came and went, some elected as teenagers, some bribed into power, others murdered in their sleep. The throne of St. Peter was no longer sacred, it was a prize. Formosus's ghost, some said, never left the Lateran. The cadaver signed was not merely a grotesque moment in church history. It was a mirror, revealing the chaos